Good day everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today it's a review on the 75-32 M41 Semovente. Now, spading this tank wasn't very fun for me, and I'm going to go over why. But first we're going to go over the tank itself, just evaluate what the tank is. So if you've seen the 75-18 spade review, you'll look at this tank and go, looks very familiar, doesn't it? Well, it's the exact same chassis. But you do get a better gun, the 75-32 Mod 37. It's a decent gun, but in an up tier, it can struggle, so I will explain why. So the tank itself is pretty much unchanged. It's just the gun. That's literally the only difference in this tank. Destroyer, it's literally the gun. There is nothing else that changes. The armor is the same, the reverse speed is the same, the mobility is the same, from what I've been able to find. Overall, it's the exact same tank. However, the reload on this thing is a damn slight under 9 seconds on my crew, and it takes forever to reload. I have no idea why this thing takes 8.6 seconds when the Stug 3A or the Stug 3F reloads in about 6.5 seconds. Why do you sacrifice 2 seconds of reload for a worse gun in most areas? I do not know. But hey, that's Gaijin for you. So the vehicle itself loses its machine gun on the roof from the Dash 18, which is a bit of a shame, but I suppose you have to make a sacrifice somewhere, don't you? The 75mm gun, if it penetrates the target, is pretty beastly. It will just eviscerate a target. Nothing will survive a single hit if this thing penetrates. However, there are certain targets that you cannot penetrate with the stock gun, and those being KV-1s and T-34s. For that, you will need the heat round, but it's a rank 3 upgrade. This isn't the worst stock grind tank I've ever used, but it wasn't the best. I went parts, FPE, adjustment of fire, and then straight for heat. That's what I recommend you guys do. I wouldn't bother firing smoke at this thing because it's nearly 9 seconds for a shell, and if an enemy tank decides to rush you, you're kind of screwed because your armor will not save you. Unlike in the Dash 18, in a down tier, this won't save you. Maybe around a turret ball, or the gun ball, I'm going to call it. That might save you, but I doubt it. So let's get into the replay, and I'll go over more of the tank in a few moments. And there was a small spoiler there. There is the R3T20 SPAA, and I had a very fun game in that. That will be done soon once I've actually spaded it. I've only got a couple of mods left to go on that thing, and then it is done. This battle was rather short, but it felt a lot longer. The one thing I will recommend about this tank destroyer is that the arm or the mobility is poor, as you will see. So the vehicle itself doesn't do off-road very well, doesn't do on-road particularly very well, and you will get dragged up into up tiers pretty much all the time. But don't worry, it's even worse for the P40, which I'll also be doing a review on soon enough. It's just this tank and many other tanks that the Italians use get shafted in up tiers. The P40, which you can see there being driven by Rename 25912, that vehicle is horrible in an up tier because it cannot penetrate a KV-1 ZIS-5 at all. I've had good games with the P40, but they just get ruined by Russian tanks. It's a real shame because it is I like the tank. It is a very fun tank. But I just keep getting shafted in up tiers. It's always up tiers. I don't mind getting up tiered every so often, but when it's pretty much every game, it is really annoying. So at the moment I'm just moving into the town area. Obviously all these other tanks around me are faster than me, which is not much of an achievement. This thing is slow. The top speed is only about 20 miles an hour, and even then, with the lackluster engine, you ain't hitting that speed very often. Ignore my bad driving there. But oh my god, this thing was a painful grind. It's not that the tank destroyer is bad, it's just the gun needs heat to be competitive. And it's those kinds of vehicles that I don't particularly like. Now the replay's name was distinctly average, and it's average in most aspects other than mobility and reload speed. Reload speed is horrible. I don't get why it is that long, because the loader sat right next to the ammunition and the breach is 2 seconds away from him, so reload should be down to about 4.5 to 5 seconds if I was to say. Then it would make these Semeventes more competitive. Same goes for the Dash 18. That thing takes far too long for an insufficient stock shell. Now I do admit I screw up this first shot here. I don't know how. I reckon it's because I aimed it too high and it ricochets off the top of that T-50, but don't worry, we get him with a second shell. Tries driving off, and second shell. This shell will one-shot anything it penetrates. Unless you hit the engine compartment of a vehicle. So it would appear a Puma has dropped smoke up here and has been smoked by a Cromwell. Or it might have been the Panzer IV, not certain. I don't know why this guy brought in the 4732L40 into this game. This is about rating 3.7 game. And he's bringing a 1.7 tank destroyer, which we already know is terrible. I mean, he has a comparable reload to me, but I have the better gun and better armor. I don't know why he'd bring it in here. I do struggle to kill this Cromwell, but most of the time you can kill Cromwells pretty efficiently, but I was actually considering loading heat because of the way his turret was angled. So moving up here, obviously I can see the Cromwell now. I tried to blind fire, but for some reason the shell went way too high. I have no idea how that happened. So I started thinking, oh bugger, he's seen me, he saw that shot, he's looking at me. I hit the Cromwell, but obviously his turret's angled, so that didn't penetrate. The Cromwell's got a very fast reload speed. I attempt to go for the side of the turret here, but once again, non-penetration. You can see what I mean by insufficient shells half the time, but now I've got the side of his tank and I blow him to Kingdom Come. Sorry to do that to you, Cromwell, but hey ho, things like that happen. So now our team's actually pushed up rather aggressively onto the enemy's point. We're nearing the point now, but that's my second kill for the match. I don't know why this Panzer II was backing up there, because that tank was already dead. I think he was just doing it to inconvenience me, but I spot this M8. I fired just a little bit too high. I adjust the range. Pull the trigger. And naturally, it bounces. But for some reason, I get the assist, but I'm not fussed. I'll take it. So that's my first assist of the game. But this is definitely one of those Semeventes that I recommend you guys skip. It's just, it's got nothing really going for it. I mean, there's nothing too interesting about it. I mean, if this tank had the same gun as, I don't know, a Panzer IV F2, and it was on this chassis, then yes, it would suit this BR very well, because it's perfectly balanced. But with the same gun as the P40 and the other tanks that come after this, The P40 is on a better chassis. It's actually got sloped armour in places. It's got a pretty thick turret. But I mean, if you do penetrate a tank, that'll happen. And yes, that was the same Cromwell driver from earlier. And that's our third kill. I just want to clarify that this tank destroyer really needs a reload buff because it is just terrible otherwise. I don't like it for its reload rate. I don't like its mobility because it's on the M41 chassis, not the M42 chassis. What it means by the M41 designation in the name is the chassis. So this is on the M1441 chassis, as far as I'm aware. I may be wrong, but that's the chassis it's based off. And obviously we know how weak the engine is in that already. And so... And here comes a Lee. I didn't actually notice him until about now. But one shot into a Lee. That was always going to kill him. I'm surprised the Coffin for Seven Brothers had a crew member survive there, but... Even so, I actually loaded a heat round because sometimes this gun can bounce off a Lee, sometimes it doesn't, and it goes straight through. It just depends. But that is my fourth and final kill for the match, and we're going to cap out. I believe I got right towards the end of the spade with this battle. In fact, I think I spaded it after this battle, if I remember rightly. Or I might have had 2 mods left. Because I remember it was quite painful quite painful grind finishing the last 2 mods for this thing. But here comes a meme car, don't you worry. That will be done soon. I have loved that little thing. I'm not the best with a 20mm gun on it, but it's a fantastic little car. And that's the end of the battle. We've kept out. As you can see here, the battle is about 5 seconds from ending because of the capture. And there we go. Game's over. So what do I think of this tank destroyer then? Well, as I mentioned to you guys, skip it please. It's not... There's nothing going for it in my opinion. It's got a good gun. Don't get me wrong, it's got a good gun. But when you're in an up tier, you need heat in the majority of situations. I was lucky this is only a 3.3 up tier and not a 3.7. Because KV1s are the bane of this thing. The KV1 can bounce even your heat round in some situations. Your AP will do nothing to a KV1. And well, there's nothing you can really do about that, people, I'm afraid, but I suppose some sacrifices have to be made. But yes, if you really want a gun like this on a tank, just go up 0.3 BR and get a P40. It is on a much better chassis, it's on a much better protected chassis, and it's actually got a fully rotating turret and machine guns to mark targets. The P40's also got a much better reload by about 3 seconds. So overall, just skip this thing. There's nothing going for it. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you all in the next one.